I'm Liz Faublas, and this is Currents. Pioneer of the modern pro-life movement has passed away. We'll reflect on the life and legacy of Nellie Gray. Plus, meet one of the Mets, a local product whose incredible catch led to baseball history.
On the pitcher side, it was a great night, and it's definitely something I won't forget.
And with conventions, primaries, and elections right around the corner, the Diocese of Brooklyn starts a nonpartisan voter registration drive.
It was nice to see that Catholics are involved and they are getting active and they are going out to vote.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Today we mourn the loss of Nellie Gray. One of the fiercest, bravest champions of the pro-life movement, Gray passed away at her home in Washington. She was 86. Gray was a lawyer and former federal employee who devoted herself full-time to the anti-abortion movement after the Supreme Court's 1973 Roe v. Wade decision. Now, her ideas about how to design a human life amendment to the U.S. Constitution had considerable influence in pro-life circles during the 70s and the 80s. Nellie Gray, however, is best known for founding the March for Life and serving as the march's MC every year. The March for Life movement began when some 39 years ago, pro-life activists felt a need to properly commemorate the first anniversary of that tragic Roe v. Wade decision. Well, Father Frank Pavone, National Director of Priests for Life, saddened by the profound loss, released a statement calling Nellie, quote, a tireless warrior for the unborn. Dr. Alveda King, Pastoral Associate and Director of African American Outreach for Priests for Life and Gospel of Life Ministries, and the daughter of the late civil rights activist Reverend A.D. King, echoes Father Pavone's sentiment. She joined me earlier today to talk more about this incredible woman, this pioneer, and her friend, Nellie Gray. Dr. King, how did you come to know this fabulous champion for pro-life, Nellie Gray? How did you come to meet her?
Early on, I had to know Nellie Gray from a distance. I was new, not to the pro-life movement, but I came into my pro-life vocation and ministry in the 21st century. And so I went on my first March on Washington pro-life, March for Life march in the early part of this century. Mm-hmm. And I saw this wonderful fiery organizer with the auburn hair, and she was tall and stately, and she had everyone's attention, and people had this tremendous respect for her, and there were thousands of people at the march, and members of Congress, and all types of people. And I was a guest at that time of Father Frank Pavone and Janet Morana. Mm-hmm. That was even before I became the Director of African American Outreach for Priests for Life. I never expected necessarily to meet Nellie mm-hmm. and to be invited to be on that platform with Pastor Luke Robertson and the African American leaders, or Janet Morana and Georgette Forney as part of the Silent No More awareness campaign. And then those were the days as I began to approach those that January every year and come up on the stage and get instructions from Nellie. Uh-huh. I was just, totally blessed by her.
What was her most profound effect on your life? I'm sure there was so much that she's contributed, because she contributed so much to so many. But if you could think back as to what her most profound contribution to your life was, what would that be?
I have always been very impressed by Nellie's integrity, her faithfulness, her tenacity, her ability as a visionary to know what to bring into that movement. And when she included the African American leaders and the Silent No More awareness campaign, and of course I'm involved with both aspects, I certainly just said, wow, this is awesome. And for us as African Americans and post-abortive women to be affirmed and validated, mm-hmm. to stand before the people, I thank God for Nellie. I thank God that she saw the importance of doing that. And, she gave her whole life. We'll never know, maybe, all the sacrifices
Father Frank
he made.
Mm-hmm. Father Frank Pavone called her a tireless warrior for the unborn. I imagine that you would echo that statement.
I would say so. A fierce and tireless warrior for the unborn, and a friend to the African American community, a friend to the post-abortive women as well. So I would say she's a tremendous friend to the babies, to the women, to the African Americans, and to all people of goodwill and good conscience, as we are fighting to affirm life and the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Dr. King, when you hear that Nellie Gray, founder of the March for Life, has died, is your first thought, how do we make sure that her legacy, everything she worked to build, is not in vain?
My first thought when I heard that she had died was, what is the most wonderful tribute we can give to Nellie? And I believe that is to encourage all our friends, our neighbors, our associates, to join us at the March for Life in 2013, and I'm sure there's going to be a wonderful tribute to her there. And I think that she would really appreciate that her living brought thousands and hundreds of thousands. And even as she transited and left us, that many more came just to remember her. And I think that would be a fitting tribute to her.
I agree that it would probably be a tribute, and it should be a tribute, because my next question to you was, did you ever stop to think that maybe sometimes the March for Life was being taken a bit for granted, that it was just par for the course, this is something we did every year, it was certainly for a good cause, but had we lost the real meaning, the real fire behind it, and how would we keep that up without Miss Nellie Gray at the helm?
I never thought that people were taking the March for Life for granted, because each year that I've attended, it's been several years, more and more young people have come every year, and hundreds and then thousands and more young people. So when you see the youth on the scene, then you know that a movement is growing. And I believe that Nellie was aware of passing the torch, and that's why she also received and accepted the voice of the young people as well. And so I believe that the young people will catch the fire. They already have the fire.
They
and
sure
they'll,
do.
take that torch and they'll run with the flame. I really believe that. So I believe that the march will only go stronger, and that you'll see many more of the young people even more involved.
And where do we go from here, Dr. King? I mean, there's just so much more to be done. Nellie Gray used to speak often, very vocally, very loudly, that the purpose of the March for Life is to overturn Roe v. Wade and gain protection for the right to life of each born and preborn human being, no exception, no compromise. How do we make sure that that lives on?
We will continue. We'll march. We shall overcome abortion. Deep in my heart, I really do believe that. And I believe that as we overturn Roe versus Wade, we won't continue to have it as just a political message. It has been politicized, certainly not by the pro-life movement. We know better. But we're going to do this for all people, for all babies, for all mothers, for all families. And we're going to continue to march. Roe versus Wade does have to go, and the hearts of the people must change, and abortion must become unthinkable. We must come up with wonderful alternatives for mothers to feel safe and protected, for fathers and mothers to be able to have jobs to feed children. And as we do those kinds of things as well, I do believe that we shall overcome abortion.
All right. Thank you, Dr. King. That's the perfect last word. And again, our hearts are with you. We know she was a friend, so our condolences to you. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us about this amazing woman.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you. God bless you.
You're welcome. God bless. And stay tuned. There's more currents ahead. Welcome back. In tonight's headlines, the Archdiocese of Philadelphia has announced that it intends to sell some of its larger real estate holdings. This is in order to reduce operating costs in the wake of a multi-million-dollar deficit. One of these holdings is the Archbishop's residence. The city's Archbishop Charles Chaput stated yesterday that, quote, the decision to sell these properties was not made lightly, but rather after prayer and careful consideration. He also stated that the assets from the sold real estate will help to ensure the financial stability of the Archdiocese in the future and will encourage growth. Well, an update in the Vatileaks case now. The butler and one other employee are facing trial. Rome Reports has those details.
The Vatican has officially indicted the Pope's butler, Paolo Gabriele, with charges of aggravated theft over the Vatileaks case of stolen documents. Vatican spokesperson Federico Lombardi also announced that a second Vatican employee would stand trial in the case. Claudio Sciarpelletti is a layman that works in the Secretariat of State and is being charged with aiding and abetting in the theft. The charge based on an envelope Vatican police found on his desk that was from Gabriele. His desk was originally searched on May 24th, just hours after the arrest of Gabriele. Sciarpelletti was then also arrested, but only spent one night in prison after it became clear he had not played a large role in the release of the documents. They are both to stand trial before 3 Vatican judges that are all laymen. A date has still not been set for the trials, but the Vatican spokesperson did say it would not be until after September 20th, when the court returns from recess.
And meantime, the Pope proclaims his solidarity with earthquake victims in Asia.
Il mio pensiero va in questo momento alle popolazioni asiatiche, in particolare delle Filippine e della Repubblica Popolare Cinese, duramente colpite da violenti piogge, come pure a quelle del nord-ovest dell'Iran, colpite da un violento terremoto. Vi invito ad unirvi alla mia preghiera per quanti hanno perso la vita e per tutte le persone provate da così devastanti calamità. Non manchi a questi fratelli la nostra solidarietà e il nostro sostegno.
And to Spain now, where over 100 pro-life organizations are set to march. These organizations, which are not exclusive to Spain, but include ones from all over the world, are gearing up to participate in the International March for Life next month. The march will take place in Madrid and 60 other cities across the country. The title of the march, which was named by the organizers, is For the Right to Life, Zero Abortions. The event will begin at noon, and it coincides with the International Day Against the Death Penalty. And finally tonight, today is the feast day of St. Maximilian Kolbe. Rome Reports has those details.
August 14th is the feast day of St. Maximilian Maria Kolbe. His given name was Raymond, but upon entering the Franciscan seminary, he changed it to Maximilian. He was born in the small Polish village of Zadunska Wola on January 8, 1894. He is admired for the heroic gesture of offering himself to save the life of a parent. It happened on August 3, 1941, at the Auschwitz concentration camp. When a prisoner escaped, 10 others were sentenced to death. Seeing that one of those sentenced to die was a father, Maximilian volunteered to take his place. His request was granted, and he was sentenced to death by starvation. He died on August 14, 1941. The father that was saved by Maximilian noted that he not only died a saint, but also lived as a saint. During his last days spent in prison, Maximilian still found a way to celebrate Mass. In 1917, he launched the Militia of the Immaculate, an association of the faithful dedicated to his return to Poland. He also helped to create different magazines as well as 2 religious communities known as Cities of the Immaculate, one in Poland and one in Japan. He was a saint who, as John Paul II once said, did not suffer in death, but gave the gift of life.
And stay tuned, there's more currents after the break. Coming up, the local product who not only made the big leagues, but also made the catch of a lifetime.
I tried to gain some ground, running back towards the fence, take my eye off the ball, try to see where I'm at on the field. Make a little correction towards the end to the right, and luckily enough I was able to reach out and make a play on the ball. And unfortunately I kind of stumbled on the track and wasn't able to hit the ball properly.
On August 9th, DeSales Media, the parent company of Currents, and The Tablet hosted the 17th annual Bishop's Golf Classic at North Hills Country Club in Manhasset. The goal? To raise money for the Catholic Migration Services of Brooklyn and Queens. 120 golfers hit the links to support the Catholic Diocese Migration Services. And among those in attendance, Brooklyn Bishop Nicholas DeMarcio, Monsignor Kieran Harrington, the Vicar for Communications here in Brooklyn, and Reverend Patrick Keating, Executive Director of Catholic Migration Services. Well, there were a few celebrities on hand as well, including New York Mets outfielder Mike Baxter. Our Jim Mancari caught up with the Whitestone, Queens native ahead of the Golf Classic to talk about his Catholic school roots and to discuss the amazing play that landed him in the Major League's history books and on the injured list.
We're here at the North Hills Country Club in Manhasset, Long Island, and I'm joined today by New York Mets outfielder Mike Baxter. Mike's, of course, also a product of Archbishop Malloy High School in Briarwood, and a local CYO product of St. Luke's in Whitestone. He was a star back in the day there. So, Mike was gracious enough to join us after playing a day game today at Citi Field. The Mets actually won 6-1, and Mike had a great day at the plate, 2 for 3 at the plate. And recently, Mike cemented his role in New York Mets history with a fantastic over-the-shoulder catch up against the left field wall to preserve Johan Santana's no-hitter, the first in franchise history, on June 1st of this year. So first off, Mike, before that fateful night even happened, were you ever part of a no-hitter or a perfect game at any point?
Not defensively. You know, we've been no-hit a couple times in the minor leagues, and that's a feeling that you don't want to be. You don't want to ever be a part of. It's something that really stinks. So to do it on the pitcher side, it was a great night, and it's definitely something I won't forget.
I know that you're not supposed to talk to the pitcher at all, ever, during a no-hitter or a perfect game bid. No one goes over to the pitcher. Yeah. But as you, of one of the position players, do you maybe talk to some of the other position players and say, hey, Johan's got a no-hitter going here?
I think we all kind of know. It's kind of one of those unspoken things that everybody's aware of, especially once you get past the 5th inning. You start to kind of be aware of the situation of the game and what's developing, and nobody wants to be the one to say something in case something bad happens. So we all keep quiet about it and just let the game play itself out.
Mm-hmm. So now, along the same lines, you made your catch in the 7th inning off a fly ball by the Cardinals catcher Yadier Molina. Now, but even so, before that happened, because of course you were forced to come out of the game, did you think that Johan maybe had no-hit stuff going that night?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you look up, it's a 6th inning. I looked up and he had walked a couple people, so there were runners. You know, sometimes nobody gets on base and you're really aware, but you look up and you realize there's no hits, and it kind of takes the game to another dimension, because we were up in the 7th inning, we were up by 5 runs, but prior to that it was like a 1-run game, I believe, and the extra cushion was nice because then you can make a play defensively without worrying about putting the game at risk.
Definitely. So, okay, now 7th inning, Molina steps to the plate. You know, you're in your ready position in left field, and boom, the ball's off the bat coming up. What do you do?
Well, I got a good read off the bat. You know, I felt like it was a ball that was going to stay in the park, first of all. Definitely had some line drive on it that I knew it didn't have enough height to get out. And then I tried to gain some ground. I'm running back towards the fence, take my eye off the ball, try to see where I'm at on the field, make a little correction towards the end to the right. And luckily enough, I was able to reach out and make a play on the ball. And unfortunately, I kind of stumbled on the track and wasn't able to hit the wall properly.
So now, you know, you locate the ball, you see it, you glove it, but it all happens so quickly. Like, did you feel that all of a sudden the wall, you're just going to bang right into it?
Yeah, you know, when I hit the wall, it kind of knocked the wind out of me. I think that's the reason why I was down at first. There was a couple other things going on that a little sore right away, and it just took me a little while to get my breath back and kind of reassess and make sure everything was working, and then from there, I just knew I wasn't going to be able to stay in the game, and I wasn't going to do the team any good that way. So decided to come out of the game and kind of take it from there.
So then what injuries did you sustain on the play?
Fractured rib cartilage on the sternum, and then a separated collarbone, bruised ribs.
So obviously have to come out of the game. Now on the walk back to the dugout, did either Johan or any of your teammates say anything to you?
No, I don't really remember that much. I know Johan came back into the training room after the inning was over to make sure I was okay. But, you know, I was kind of caught up in that moment. I'm sure the boys, you know, were saying, hey, hang in there, good catch, and things like that. But once I got back to the training room, Johan came back, and it was actually the reason why he was late for his at-bat in the 8th, or at the bottom of the 7th.
Mm-hmm. So meanwhile, though, Johan gets through the 7th, gets through the 8th, and gets through the 9th, and throws the first no-hitter in Mets history. So now, afterwards, obviously he made history with that, first ever in franchise history. So then after the game, knowing that you made that great catch, and you know the saying, there's always a great defensive gem in either a no-hitter or a perfect game. Did he approach you afterwards, after the no-hitter?
Yeah, just, you know, he's saying it was a great night, you know. He wanted to double check, make sure I was okay. By then we figured out what was going on with me. And, you know, we spoke briefly after that. And, you know, it was such a great night for him, and he was able to go back into the clubhouse and celebrate and share it with the rest of the team, and that's where he belonged, you know. So on such a historic night like that, it's something that I know neither one of us will ever forget.
So now, especially being a Mets fan growing up yourself, you obviously never saw a no-hitter, okay? 50 years of the franchise, and they've never had one of the only teams to never have a no-hitter. So making that catch and playing a significant role in that game, And being a Met fan, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, first of all, it's an honor. Just to be part of a no-hitter in general. It's something that's so rare. To be on the field and be able to play in a game like that is an honor. To do it for Johan is even better. He's one of the best teammates I've ever had. He's a real leader in the clubhouse. He's just so good with all the guys. So to be part of his special night is great. And then, to top it off as a fan of the team and as a player on the team, it's kind of incredible over the course of 50 years with so many successful pitchers we've had through New York that it's never happened. To be a part of the first one, it's something I won't ever forget. It's a great memory.
Definitely. Now, how did the rehab process go after the injury?
It went well. It just took time, and that's what the doctors said from the beginning. They were right on with their prognosis. They told me it was going to be 6 to 8 weeks. 6 was aggressive, and really at 6 weeks I was hitting and I was doing things like that. I just wasn't able to throw yet. So they weren't too far off the mark, and their guidance led me through it, and it went actually really well.
Okay, and now you're back with the big club, so how does it feel to be back on the field?
It's great. Every time you get injured, you always wonder, you want to make sure you're going to be all right, and thankfully at the end of the day, it turned out that I feel good, and I'm grateful the Mets are giving me another chance in the major leagues with them, and that's all I can ask for. So I'm just going to try to go out and help the team win.
Sounds good, Mike. Keep playing hard, keep putting wins on the board, and thanks so much for joining me.
Anytime, Tim.
And that was Currents correspondent Jim Mancari, sports writer for The Tablet. Stay tuned, there's more Currents ahead. When we return, there's only 2.5 months left to the November election, and the Brooklyn Diocese wants everyone to make their voices heard.
Only about 20% of Catholics are actually actively voting. We need to do better. Other sects and religions are doing better, and we need to make sure that Catholics are actively voting so that our voices can be heard.
According to a recent Gallup poll, Catholics constitute almost 1 in 4 voters in the U.S. today, making their vote an important target of the Obama and the Romney election. Meantime, as it stands, no presidential candidate has won the White House without winning Catholics since at least the early 1990s. So that puts into some perspective the importance of the Catholic vote. Statistics like the ones I just stated are part of the reason voter registration and information campaigns are so critical. A fact that was not lost at a recent polling event at Our Lady of Perpetual Help in Brooklyn. There, volunteers prepared to go to about 11 different churches to help build the Catholic vote and get the word out about how important it is to head to the polls in November. It was all about the power of information, action, and of course, prayer.
We're here at Our Lady of Perpetual Help in Brooklyn running a nonpartisan voter registration drive with the Catholic Citizens Committee. This is something that the Bishop DiMarzio has asked that happen throughout the Diocese of Brooklyn and Queens. Today alone we are going to be going to 11 different churches. We learned early in this campaign there's an astonishing statistic that only about 20% of Catholics are actually actively voting. We need to do better. Other sects and religions are doing better, and we need to make sure that Catholics are actively voting so that our voices can be heard.
I firmly believe that we need more education and more information, and just to getting out the word out there, what's going on with our faith. That's what got me involved. So we're participating in all the different masses and speaking after each of the mass to encourage people to vote. We're both participating in the Spanish Mass, which is upstairs in the church, and also the English Mass down here.
The church can never back one candidate over another. That's not what we're here for. What we are here for is to make sure that justice is given for all people. And so what we try to do is make parishioners aware of the issues that affect their lives, the issues that affect our church.
Many of you might have heard about the HHS mandate. It's an issue of religious liberty because the church shouldn't be forced to pay for something it doesn't believe in.
I feel it's wonderful how the woman spoken off the pulpit. Outside the church, we're getting people involved. Catholics sometimes sit on their hands and don't be part of what they should be, stand up for what their values are. Today's strong, there's a big group here listening, watching out, signing. This is what we need.
Un mandato que va en contra de nuestra conciencia como católicos.
The point that I was trying to bring across was 3 things. First of all, to unite in prayer with the church against this mandate and to pray for religious freedom. Second, to register to vote. But most important, to give more information about the people, what was going on, and inform them that our faith is being attacked, our conscience. I find that people are eager to help. People are eager to get involved.
Speaking with different people from different neighborhoods and different ethnicities, it was just nice kind of getting feedback from them on how they felt about this whole issue. And it was nice to see that Catholics are involved and they are getting active and they are going out to vote. And the whole thing was just about awareness, making sure people are aware of the issues that do affect us, do affect our community.
And that is all for our show tonight. You can keep up with all your favorite current episodes by logging on to currentsny.net. Follow us on Twitter too. Find us there at currentsny. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Liz Faublas, and we leave you tonight with scenes from this year's March for Life, a tribute to Miss Nellie Gray and her legacy.